Hi, I'm Cindy Bertram. Thanks for joining me today on Extraordinary Not Ordinary. When coronavirus came up unexpectedly, also known as COVID-19, in March of 2020, yes, it did have a major impact throughout the world. The pause of cruising was actually one. People could not take cruise vacations, they couldn't sail on ships. But during this time period, the cruise industry worked together as one. Yes, they worked together. They reached out, cruise lines reached out and worked with high-level medical experts, doctors and professionals during this pause. And these experts actually helped them put together detailed high-level protocols that the cruise lines themselves would be implementing when cruising was allowed to restart. And the cruise lines submitted these detailed protocols to the CDC, which is also known as the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, for approval. Cruise lines also created their own safety bubbles. These were elements that were going to be keeping their cruise staff safe and guests safe on each of their ships, which they would be implementing as part of their protocols too. And some of these precautions were actually ones that they've been actually doing before COVID-19 hit. After securing approval from the CDC, cruising did slowly restart in the middle of last year, in the summer. They limited the number of guests on board their ships, sailing with less than 25% capacity. Also, guests were required to submit special documents in advance, proof of COVID-19 vaccinations, and in advance of checking in, guests had to provide documentation they had gotten a rapid antigen to COVID-19 test showing that they actually had tested negative. And the rapid antigen test negative results had to be done no more than 2 days before they were going to be embarking on their ship. On the ships themselves, the cruise lines did implement very, very special protocols too. Social distancing, wearing masks, high-level sanitation and cleaning procedures, no self-serving at buffets. Another, cruise lines also required that guests had to book and take shore excursions through that particular ship they were on. They couldn't just get off, disembark from the ships themselves on their own. Yes, cruising has successfully restarted, and people often ask me, well, Cindy, how are things going? Thanks to the efforts that cruise lines have done and implemented, cruising is a very, very, very safe way to travel and a wonderful option for vacation. The cruise industry truly is an example of extraordinary net ordinary when it comes to this. I just recently took a cruise myself on April 30th, sailing to the Caribbean, and had absolutely no issues while I was sailing on my ship. I thought it might be of help if I were to share more of my own personal experiences today with you. In getting this cruise book, I did have to submit documents, including my COVID-19 vaccination document card, noting I had gotten the vaccinations as well as booster shots. Also, there were additional questions. And 2 days before my embarking on the ship, I had to get tested for the rapid antigen COVID-19 test done, which showed I tested negative. As far as the actual ship boarding, it was done extremely well. I was sailing out of Port Everglades in Fort Lauderdale. I've been given specific instructions and details on the boarding procedures. Masks were required for all of us in the cruise terminal, and social distancing was implemented. In the first line, guests, including myself, had to wait, and we had to show our COVID-19 vaccination card, as well as showing that we had that rapid antigen test that came up negative less than 48 hours before, to the cruise line's embarkation staff members. From there, we were actually directed to another line and waited then to check in for the cruise with different embarkation staff members too. These staff members were not behind actual desks. I really felt much safer. Then we were directed to another area of the port area, and we had to go through security checking areas, scanning of personal items, etc. And then from there, we boarded the ship. The cruise I sailed on was Royal Caribbean, and they really had a very special app for people, including myself, guests, to use. So in advance, I actually downloaded the app on my mobile phone and used this to make reservations for different shows, dining, including specialty dining options, as well as shore excursions in advance before my sailing. And in addition, during the cruise, I could still use this app too to make other reservations as needed. The shows on board were phenomenal, yes. Enjoying Mamma Mia, the musical, which we had to make reservations for in advance, which I did. Another was the Ocean Aria Aqua show, and a third was Ice Games Ice Show. In addition, there were other areas throughout the ship with diverse performers, entertainers, as well as the beautiful pool areas too. Also made reservations for some of the specialty dining restaurants, and these were great options too. And also, I booked in advance different shore excursions while we were docked at different ports. And also on those shore excursions, most of the time we had to wear masks if we were taking buses. But overall, it was a wonderful experience. The staff members were so happy and excited that we were there. I felt completely safe. And the disembarkation procedure was very, very smooth. We disembarked in different times and areas, and it wasn't that long to get off the ship, too. As far as final thoughts, yes, cruising really is very safe with all the protocols that have been put into place and implemented. And people like you need to be aware of this. It truly was an extraordinary experience, and one people like you need to know about. So thank you again for joining me today. Until next week, I'm Cindy Bertram, Extraordinary. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you. And think about taking a cruise.